from 0 to 1 million, I was like the only one running marketing, sales, customer support, like all this shit. I was working like crazy. You actually become richer. Let's say if I've got water and I give water to you, it means I have less water. If I have money and I give money to you, I have less money. But if I give you knowledge, I still have the same knowledge, because when I share something, it also like crystallizes my knowledge. You switch, like it's a fight or flight mode. Stress level, cortisol level, everything is super high. And eventually it's like it stresses you out so much that you want to react, just emotionally to going to Russia and seeing someone almost getting killed when I was trying to launch a business.
Ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. You built a $150 million company from having just $1,000 left in your pocket. You have 430,000 followers on social media. You run, swim, cycle, and fucking amount of kilometers every week. And you are one of the funniest guys I ever met. Welcome, G.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me in my house.
So, in my eyes, you managed very well to blend success with personal enjoyment, challenging the stereotype that success means no leisure time. Before meeting you, my picture of success was that you couldn't have 1 or 2 drinks on a Friday night and being successful. Why do you believe it's important not to be too strict with ourselves on a journey?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I just feel like if you want to go in the extreme, at some point you can just burn out. We've seen a lot of people burning out. But again, if we look at everyone, I think in our generation especially wants to optimize things. So you want to optimize for profit, for example, optimize for whatever. But there is also the side where it's just about maximizing. So how much can you do with a certain unit of time? And the reality is down the line, keeping the right balance for anything you do in life is important. I don't believe in balance in a sense where I would say every week needs to be balanced perfectly. You need to have your routine, your 10-minute bathtub or ice tub or whatever, cold plunge or all this type of shit. I just believe balance can just be typically for me, my balance or the way I find my balance is by having what I call seasons. So I have seasons where I work like hell. Just because I love this and my work is my passion. So for me, it's fine. And I'm happy to work the weekend. I don't feel like working never. And there are seasons where I also need to kind of chill and relax and decompress. And overall, for me, you were mentioning sport. I think sport is essential for performance. Yeah. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who eat pizza and are lazy fat bastards. And that's fine, But for me, it's essential.
Yeah. Okay. One scene that sticks with me, when I was visiting you in Paris last year, I was struck by your giver mentality. So after 60 minutes presentation of yours, you devoted nearly 2 hours to answering every question from the audience afterwards. Additionally, I know several people who having benefited immensely from having you as a mentor. Everyone is highlighting your generosity. Why the hell are you doing this?
It's a good question. I feel so if you look at essentially how I grew the company, I had I worked a lot and I had, I think, the extreme chance to become a multimillionaire before I turned 30, which I think is something my parents, they don't come from money. They grew up on a farm. They didn't go to a university or anything. So for me, eventually when I grew up, I knew that they were sacrificing a lot so I could just start getting, a good degree or a good job. And I just felt money, even though no one likes to talk about it. But for me, it has always been important because when you grew up and with the feeling that you're lacking of something and that it drives a bit of insecurity. So coming to that stage of becoming multimillionaire before 30, I realized actually how meaningless it was. And, I was super happy that I've managed to done it so quickly because the reality is if I had done or if I had spent my entire life chasing that dream of becoming like multimillionaire, and then I turned 90, finally become multimillionaire and realize like how fuck it doesn't change shit about my life. Yeah. Like that's for me would be like a waste of time. So I'm really happy that I've done now like very quickly, because it has forced me to ask me the question, what's the meaning of life and why am I on this earth for? And I just feel like there is a much bigger meaning in helping others succeed. Of course, I'm not like fucking Mother Teresa or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna pretend I'm a saint. It's not because I wear like a white shirt or anything. But it's just like, for me, if I can help people who were in the same spot as me, and I know that they are like grinders, they are working hard, and they want to apply, you know, like the things I, you know, like offer as solutions, then I'm fine. And, you know, like whenever you share your knowledge and whenever you give something to someone, especially when it's intellectually, you are not like poorer by doing this. You actually become richer. So I think knowledge is the only thing. Like, let's say if I've got water and I give water to you, it means I have less water. If I have money and I give money to you, I have less money. But if I give you knowledge, I still have the same knowledge, you know? So for me, it's just a matter of this makes me grow, this makes you grow, because when I share something, it also like crystallize my knowledge. And overall, it just make me feel good. So that's why I do it. Win-win, yeah. Mm.
Okay. And what was the wildest dream when you started Limlist?
My wildest dream.
Initial goal of
initial goal was just to get a salary. I was broke, man. I was not ambitious at all. The girlfriend I was dating at the time was paying the rent. We were living in like 26 meters square, 2 people, fighting a lot.
Shoebox. Yeah.
It was a proper shoebox. We had like a tiny bedroom with like mole on the wall. Like it was pretty like, yeah. I mean, I was happy back then. Huh? No, like, I don't need like fucking like here 500 meters square like around me to be happy. But it's just, yeah, I think ambition is like appetite. It grows over time. Like the more you eat, the more you're gonna want some stuff. And I think like what I love about business is like it's a game. If you realize that, so everything in life has rules. We live in a society that has rules. Like rules have been created by other humans, but essentially you often need to follow them. In business, you create your own game. And this is like the best thing. Like if you want to launch a business and work 4 hours per day, I'm not saying that you're going to be incredibly successful. Probably not. Maybe if you're really smart, like, yeah, but it's your own game. And I think like this is the most important. Everyone compares each other to others, but the moment you understand that you're playing your own game and the only person you're competing against is yourself, everything changes.
Okay, nice. And I think one of the most common and hardest parts of an entrepreneur's journey is dealing with doubts and financial problems. I mean, every entrepreneur faces crisis from time to time. Mm. So how do you maintain positivity and resilience during these times? And could you share some of your best strategies?
It's a good question. So down moments, you have a lot. But I just feel like for me, I've had like so many down moments in the last 8 years, from, you know, like failing a t-shirt business with my dad to going to Russia and seeing someone almost getting killed when I was trying to launch a business. So there's been like a lot of things where, you know, like no one believed in me. I got rejected so many times, etc. that eventually you get so much shit in your face that, you know, I'm always wondering like what could go wrong. I'm always asking me like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? And even if the worst thing that can happen would be your company shut down tomorrow, I'm still here.
You know, yeah, but it's easy to say, you know?
Yeah. It's
to act like this.
It's easy to say, but to be honest, like when I am in the toughest moments, this is the thing. Like it's, for me, it's like, what do I need? Like I need my brain, I need my hands, and I need a computer. And with this, I know I can reproduce the success. And I think like a lot of people get extremely worried when they did not build enough confidence in themselves. And that happens because they don't have enough wins in their leaderboard. So if on your scoreboard you have like so many wins, there were times where we thought that Google was going to shut us down. LinkedIn was going to kill us. I had lawsuits. I had like so many different things from people, you know, like I had never met, like all the crazy shit. And the reality is like every time you have a problem, ask yourself, okay, like you receive a problem, your level of stress increase. If you feel like you are in trouble personally and that it can, for example, like kill your business, you switch, you know, like it's a fight or flight mode. And eventually you switch into that mode, like reptilian mode. And you're like, oh shit, you know, like stress level, cortisol level, everything is super high. And eventually it's like, it stresses you out so much that you want to react, you know, just emotionally. Once this is passed, usually like after a few minutes, you come down. And now you're saying, okay, this is the problem, and start picturing it as a game. If I had to solve this problem in 3 different manners, what would I do? And then you list the thing. What could I do to solve this problem? Then you ask other people, oh, okay, so maybe like from just my thoughts is doing X, doing Y, doing Z, okay? Second option, well, I could also find someone in my network or on Earth that had exactly the same problem as me and try to see whether or not this person can help out. Maybe I know someone. So if I know these people, I'm going to reach out to them. If I know other entrepreneurs, I'm going to reach out to them. Or third option, I know no one knows about this. So I'm just going to post online and see if someone replies. Okay. And eventually, just by doing this, you're already thinking about the solution, not about the problem anymore. And everything changes. And I can guarantee that there are always solutions, always. And I've been, experiencing it in crazy times.
Okay, but despite your mental strength, we have all areas for improvement. So in which area do you lack discipline, and what lessons could the listener learn from this?
In which area do I need more discipline? Do I lack of discipline?
Because it's like, okay, he's so fucking strange in the mental.
Where do I need more discipline?
Do you snooze in the mornings?
No, I don't use an alarm usually. Yeah, so it's like no. For this, I'm like good. I watch Netflix before I go to bed. This is something I'm trying to change. I really love, you know, like watching Netflix and just chilling and dying in bed. I've done it since Netflix was invented. It's the best invention of all time. And this is a habit that's hard to break. Okay. Not break, but replace. I need to replace it with maybe a better habit.
With a book.
A little book, yeah.
Okay, so it's very common for entrepreneurs after hitting their first revenue goals to reward themselves with something. One of the first things I noticed about you don't have any typical luxury items, no Rolex, no Porsche, nothing. Could you please explain why you believe these status symbols are worthless for you?
For me, yeah, because I don't think it's worthless. I think like some people enjoy it and they should like do it. But it's just, so let's take all the items, you know, that you have. Having a watch.
Do you had one before?
No,
never.
Yeah, so I never had a watch. Like I never had a watch, so why would I start like wearing it? I'm really bad. I wear my watch on the right side, and the only watch I wear is like for training. So having like, I don't know, a Rolex or whatever, I just don't find it super attractive. Second thing, a car. I'm like a terrible driver, man. Like seriously, like I'm the worst driver. So having a Porsche or Lambo just to fucking like drive it into someone or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. I love pretty objects. They are pretty objects, but I know myself and I know how not cautious I am with these things. So I just rather, you know, like if I rent a car, I'm rent a shitty car. I take full insurance because I know that potentially something's going to happen. I never hurt someone. I usually like hurt myself or this kind of things. Like I'll end up in a wall or whatever. By the way, if some people know like really good driving license company, I might have like to need to take some driving lessons again. And then, no, there are things that I like when I'm in here, for example, like I love.
Reward yourself. So
it's nice places, nice experience. You know, the reward for me, it's simple. Like same, I love adventure. So I'm gonna pack a bag and I'm gonna go hike and camp on myself. And the reward would be to take like a really high-end sleeping bag, you know, like where I know that I can sleep even if it's like -10. And I didn't buy like the cheap one. I bought like the most expensive one, so I know I'm like safe and everything is good. The type of things like flying in business class. This is awesome. You can sleep. You have good food. I love good food. So for me, it's like it's awesome. Or just great environment. I think this is nice. Or just freedom of time. Typically, back in the days, I would always take the cheapest flight to get to a place. Or if I had booked a flight, let's say, to come back on the 1st of April, I would leave on the 1st of April. Today, if I don't want to leave on the 1st, or because I'm tired, I want to leave on the 3rd, or before I want to go back earlier just to surprise my family or whatever, I just do it. And I don't even think about it. I can just, last time, you know, I was like in a place. It was my grandma's birthday. She was on her own and I had kind of like forgotten about it and I was taking holiday. And then I was like, fuck, you know, like my grandma, she's not going to be around forever. So I just left. I went to the airport and I was at the airport and I'm like, okay, like I want to leave to that place today. What do we do?
Like a taxi driver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, you know, it's like people get crazy. They're scared. Like, and they have the reflex to, okay, when was your flight back? I'm sorry. We really can't cancel. I'm like, that's not the question. I need to get there. How do we do it? And often you'd see that actually people are like surprised and helpful. And sometimes you just go around and it works, you know? Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I remember another fascinating story when I was meeting you in Paris. One lesson was heavily sticking with me when I was telling you about an ongoing negotiation I had. I don't remember if you remember, but I asked you advice on how to win it. Without hesitation, you told me about your last negotiation of selling a few shares of your company and how you managed it well through holding silence in crucial parts. The most interesting part for me was that you always have these basic principles handy in every aspect. Can you explain your view on the balance between knowing a few critical things deeply versus having a broad knowledge?
Yeah, I just think, to be honest, that it's good to have both. I think like most people lack of broad knowledge and they want to go too specific about something and they forget the bigger picture. You know, like I think it was Leonardo da Vinci that was saying something like, study the art of science, study the science of art, learn how to see. And for me, you know, it just means that essentially everything connects. If you're good at sales, it means that potentially like you understand psychology. If you understand psychology, it means that you can be good also at marketing. If you get good at marketing, it also means that you understand how to sell a product. If you understand the product, again, you know, like you can move to different aspects. And I feel like the broader you get in your knowledge, the higher you will be able to go later. It's for me like the broader knowledge is basically the foundation. So if you look even at my like curriculum, like initially I'm like a chemical engineer. I have like a master in drug discovery, then studied chemical engineering, then I studied marketing. It's just, I'm curious. So the more I learn like things.
You're self-aware of that, you knowing so much basic principles. The first principle, is that something you're well aware of yourself? Because it's one thing everyone mentioned about you.
Yeah.
When I talk about you, everyone is like, he has this basic stuff, like principles.
No, I probably don't realize it. For me, I think that comes like naturally or with time, but it's just maybe the way I analyze things and the way I've realized that the way I see things is very different than most people. And at first I just thought it was because, you know, like, I don't know, I was a weird or just, I don't know. I just thought everyone had different views on different things and it was fine. But actually I realized that often I just don't see the same thing as people. And I think that's also I love Rick Robbins, for example. Like Rick Robbins is the guy who I think created or produced like one of the, or most of the top music we've been listening to, bestsellers like with Jay-Z, Beyonce, etc., etc. And when people ask him, like, do you know how to play an instrument? It's like, no. Do you know how to sing? No. So why are you like so well recognized? And then he says, like, my talent is to be extremely good at recognizing whether or not something's gonna work. And, you know, like for me, when I look at a video, the way it's edited, when I look at how people write, when I look at a post or something, I can tell you straight away if it's a banger or if it's not. But people, they don't have this. Like, or most people, you know, it's like it's taste. You know, like taste is something that you can work. It's not something that's that just comes to your mind and you're like gifted, etc. Most people would think like this is something you inherit or this is something you have whenever you're born. For me, I think this is something you build, but the way you build it might be not recognizable for people.
Yeah.
So
the more art you see,
yeah,
the better your taste gets.
Yeah, of course. And it's not just see, you know, it's also like asking yourself a question. Like if you take that painting over there, if you like, okay, why would you prefer that painting versus the one above? And then you ask yourself this question, like, which one do you prefer? Why? Most people, you know, they never ask why. You know, they're going to just feel something and then move on to the other thing. But if you ask yourself why and you're like, well, I don't know, like this one, it feels like there is a repetition and at the same time it's dripping, which means like the repetition is something painful. And then you create like, I don't know, a whole story about something, but at least, you know, you've worked in your brain to understand why you prefer something versus something else. Yeah. And the fact that you verbalize it will help you later to create something that's better. Yeah. So I think like to be a good creator, you also need to be a good curator. You also need to understand deeply why you prefer certain things to others. And once you have like verbalized it, then I feel like it's a lot easier to reproduce it and create afterwards.
Nice. Whoever draws this, the value goes crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know if it's a real painting, to be honest.
$1 million picture now. So, okay. I remember the first time I met you, your view on work-life balance was like, I work close to burnout and then I rest. Is this still your perspective on a balanced mind?
Yeah, that's been like my balance. So I would say that I've always had this kind of like extreme mindset where I feel like you need limits to find yourself and you need to push your limits to know who you truly are. When some people, you know, are like, I don't work too much because I'm afraid of burnout. I'm like, yes, but you can also like try to work hard to discover that you can actually take more, feel good about yourself for taking more, observing your limits. And once you know your limits, decide whether or not you want to push it and test it. And for me, this is the same in sports. You know, like whenever you're doing like endurance sport or these kind of things, how far can you push? What human can you become? Like for me, this is like really interesting. It's the best form of introspection because I've met so many people, you know, who were telling me like, oh, it's not going to be possible to do this project and there's that certain deadline, etc., etc. They don't even try. Just try, you know. Maybe you're going to like be surprised to what you can deliver. And maybe just doing this will give you so much more confidence for the future on what you can achieve and what you can't. And I think people are too afraid to take risks, too afraid to push themselves. Am I saying that you should work until burnout? No, this is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like people, especially like the younger generation, but I think every new generation says that, are extremely weak. Like seriously, like it's crazy. I just feel people like they are so used to instant gratification with Instagram, TikTok, etc., that as soon as it gets hard, it's not for me. But the reality is like you start enjoying things when you get good at it. And to get good at something, there must be some suffering. There must be some parts in your life where you go outside of your comfort zone and that feels hard and that hurts. And it's exactly the same thing with sports. Like whenever you get started, it's going to be hard. And running, I think, is also like one, I know you hate running, but but running for me, it's cool because running, it's basically every time you run, you have that little voice in your head. David Goggins called it the little bitch voice that's telling you to stop. That's telling you to quit.
What's the mental model when the first pain arises? I know everyone knows you're an avid runner. So what is your mental model when the first pain arises? Do you have something or?
Yeah, I think there are several things that helps. First is like, okay, remember how you're going to feel afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I think someone said that discipline was the purest form of self-love. And I think for me, this is a beautiful definition because why is it the purest form of self-love? Because discipline is about sacrificing your current self for your future self. You want to sacrifice your current state of I'm in pain so you know that later on you're going to enjoy. And I think this is the same when you run. Because whenever you're running, sometimes, I just I don't even want to go running. Like I'm going to sit on the couch, look at my shoes. Like I can stay there for
I saw your face 2 days ago. Wasn't pretty.
Yeah. No, actually 2 days ago, I had diarrhea when I was running and I met you and I wanted to finish my training. This is the thing. You can't fart when you run. It's way too risky. And yeah. I've been having a few stomach issues with running lately. I need to... Yeah, I'm changing my diet also. So it's I'm testing new things, but sometimes, you gotta do what you gotta do to learn about your body. Anyway, so the thing is when it starts, it's just about, remembering the states of what it's going to be after, how I'm going to feel. So it's a lot of visualization. Mm-hmm. Visualize yourself finishing that training.
You do this while you're running?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or what I do is I do different things. Essentially, when it gets hard, mm-hmm. it usually means that my body is way too contracted. Mm-hmm. Usually that happens with stress also. Mm-hmm. Your shoulders are like this, you start typing, you're this, etc. And if you just relax, just change your breathing, mm-hmm. straight away, the energy is totally different. And it's crazy. Just breathing, just thinking, and for me, when I run, when, I get okay, it's too hard, etc., I'm just going to start thinking, okay, where are my shoulders? How is my shoulder line? Am I like this or am I like this? How is my breathing? Mm-hmm. Am I breathing too heavily? Is it inconstant? And then same, how is my my stride? Am I running fast, too fast? Am I really easy on the running or not? And then, you just be inside your body, realize how you feel and start to relax a little bit and see how that feels. And very quickly, you're going to see that you're in a totally different mood because you are a lot more in the present moment rather than in your mind, I need to stop.
But I think it's important to say that's a habit you have to develop.
Yeah, of course.
You can't do this tomorrow and...
Again, it's we were talking about this earlier, but it's all these little wins. Yeah. Because the reality when you run is ask yourself, can I take another step?
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. But if you build up this question, it means that technically you're unstoppable because you can always take another step unless you're cramping, dehydrated. But for that to happen, I can guarantee that your brain is going to send you so many messages, insult you, tell you that you should stop, that there are so many cool stuff waiting at home, that you should relax, etc., that you deserve it. And
let's go to the pool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's nice, it's nice to have this conversation with yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dip in a different topic. I think everyone who knows you knows you're heavy into content creation, and content creation is very time consuming. And everyone who tries this is complaining about it. Why do you prioritize writing your own material? Still writing your own material?
I think there are several things. For me, content creation is exactly the same as teaching. Mm-hmm. And the reason why teaching is so great is because it helps you crystallize your knowledge. And the reality is like people who do content creation just to get revenue, be seen, etc., and who are outsourcing it. There's nothing wrong about it, but it's not usually the person I want to meet because it's not their brain I'm looking at. It's someone else's brain who wrote like their own content. And the reality is, for me, I just feel that the more I write, the smarter I become, because whenever I need to write something or I want to write something and I feel like there is a lack in the reasoning I'm having writing a post, I will start digging for more information because I don't want to publish or talk about a topic that I don't really master. So the fact that I'm constantly like creating new content forces me to also constantly create and learn. And this is for me like the best investment you can make on yourself. Because what drives me in the day-to-day, it's not really like the money. It's obviously like helping a maximum of people, but also becoming a version of myself that I would love to meet today. So if the Guillaume of tomorrow is someone more interesting than I am today, then I'd be happy to meet with that person. But for that, you need to learn new things. You need to train your brain. You need to debate. You need to do all these things. And I just feel like the very few people who create good content, but whenever you interview them, you realize that it's just like empty. And I had a podcast back in the days, and I saw people like who were producing good content, etc., like CEOs of like top companies. So I was like, damn, like they're sharp, like they really know their stuff. And then at the end, when I was asking them, like, do you create your content? And they were like, oh no, I've got a marketing team for it. Then it's like, okay, like I want to talk to the person who created the content because, I mean, you might be good at hiring the right people, but you're not as smart as what your content states, you know? And again, you know, I feel like also some people are not as eloquent as whenever they're like writing. So that can also be a possibility. But overall, I just feel like it's a cool way to benefit from a lot of things. Because when you write content, you give essentially like an inside peek of your brain to people from the outside. So they kind of like picture who you are. From that, it means that it opens a lot of doors. Tomorrow, if I write to someone, the likelihood of them replying is actually pretty high because I produce a lot of content. Most often, they're going to be interested in understanding, etc., etc. And from there, it means that I can be invited to events where I meet people who I thought I don't belong there or whatever. And these guys give me insights into new things. So it forces me to learn about new things. And from the things that I learn, I want to create content and so on and so forth. Virtuous cycle.
And how does your process look like? Let's take a LinkedIn post.
LinkedIn post, it's basically like there are several things, but typically I will go on Taplio to find like inspiration.
Obvious.
Obvious, yeah. I mean, you know, like plugging my tool right here. No, but yeah, or like any like you just need to find inspiration. But inspiration is inspiration for me comes from discipline. Like search topics. Read stuff. You can read books. You can read like the press. I mean, I wouldn't advise the press so much, but I think there are like trusted sources, etc., that you can read. And then from there, try to just type in ideas. Sometimes you're going to see a post you agree with. Sometimes you're going to see a post you disagree with. In each case, if you agree with the post, how would you have written it in your own words? Can you add more examples? Can you make it more specific? If it's a post you disagree with, why do you disagree with this post? Can you make a post that says the actual opposite? So it will create a debate, and so on and so forth. And by just doing that, you will start having like a lot of ideas. And from my ideas, then I write and spend time like digging into each topic.
Nice. In your opinion, what are the most essential skills for founders today aside from sales?
I think, yeah, sales for me is everything because
Aside from
sales. Yeah, I think like everything, even though like I feel like everything is about sales, even marketing. But yeah, I think if you're good in sales and you're good in marketing, you have like most skills. And the reason I'm saying that is because for me, sales is not just about like selling your product. It's also about selling your vision to your team. It's also about, you know, like understanding human psychology. And if you understand human psychology, you usually have like great interpersonal skills, and therefore you should be a pretty good manager. It doesn't mean that a good sales is always a good manager, because you have people who are like ruthless, hardcore closer, etc. But I don't consider these guys as the master of sales. I consider this guy as good sales rep, but someone who really masters sales is someone who's capable of saying that it's not a fit. It's not gonna close the deal at all costs. It'd rather save the relationship rather than close the deal. And that's, for me, usually make good managers.
Nice. I will give you a list that are, in my opinion, mentally crucial for being successful. Taking chances when they arise, deciding quickly on things, and not deciding means not moving. What is your take on this, and what would you add?
That's a good question. Not deciding equals not moving. Yeah, I agree with this. I think like people are too slow. Like overall, like, and this drives me crazy. Yeah. It's like I've really, yeah, I don't know. I think my life, I live it in like 4x, and people are just like 0.5x on average. So it's like when people are telling me things, it's really hard for me to like listen or be very attentive. Like I'm always like doing multi things. And I just feel like a lot of people are afraid to take risk, afraid to take action. And that's usually just because they simply haven't built that habit of taking action. It's not something that's, again, that you are born with or born without. Like, it's really something you got to learn. It's really something you got to start doing. And some people lack more confidence than others. So it's going to take more time for them to build that confidence to act quickly. But if I want to add stuff to your list to become successful, I think you need to build an obsession. I just feel like you need to be obsessed with something if you really want to be successful.
The product you build or
anything. It can be like obsessed about a problem, obsessed about like your work, obsessed about. But if you really want to become incredible and incredibly successful, and again, we need to define like what success means, because I think success is like too broad. But if we want to just say financially successful, like making a lot of money.
I think this one is the easier part. Yeah.
So if you want to say like someone needs to make like a lot of money, if you want to be amongst the top 1%, you need to be able to do what the 99% of the rest of the people aren't doing, which means that when people do their 9 to 5 as something that's their habit, if you add up hours on this, I can guarantee that over a certain of time, one, you will feel like you deserve more. If you start feeling it, it means that you're going to start becoming it. And the more you become sure that you are worth a lot more than the other people around you, the more confidence you have. And the more confidence you have, the more your action will reflect it. And therefore, you will get results out of it. And for me, it's as simple as that. It's really like, it doesn't mean that you have to work these hours to get to that results, because anyone who's good in productivity will tell you that people work too much, too many hours, and they are not wrong. But the reality is like, why do you need to work these hours? It's not for the output. It's for who you become. It's for how much confidence you build. And I think like no one realizes that. It's not when I say like you need to grind, you need to work hard, and people are like, yeah, but productivity-wise, you can't work more than 2 hours per day. Your brain will fuck your brain. Like, it's not about that. It's about you. You know, it's about like who you become, what you can endure, and about building that confidence that tells you that you are worth a lot more. Because down the line, it's the same. Like when I was playing basketball back in the days, at the end of the training, I was the last one. I was taking shots when everyone left. Every time. When I go back to training, what do I think about my level? I'm gonna fucking beat these guys. Yes, they are my teammate, but when we train, no one's like better than me. And that's what I was thinking. Like seriously, I was thinking 100%, I deserve to be better than any of them because I train harder. And when you have this mentality, what do you think happens when you enter the game? yes, you like score the most points, you're like best defender, etc. Like it's logical, but all of this happens in the mind. So for me, it's like more about building the mental strengths than just about doing the shit, you know?
Amen. You are a firm believer in mental weight. By the way, I love the term. So learning to say no seems like a critical skill that you have. Can you provide an example of an opportunity you turned down that ultimately benefited your success?
It's a good question. I feel like when I was getting started, I couldn't say no. Like I would say yes to pretty much everything. And I think like saying no and turning down opportunities is something that eventually like you gotta learn to do. But at first, I feel it's good also to be a yes man. Because you never know like what can happen. I just feel it depends on the stage at which you're at. I'm not going to say that I was like someone who was like extremely focused from day one. It's not true. At first, I didn't really know what we were doing, how we were going, etc. So I wanted to meet with pretty much like everyone all the time, etc. Once I found what I wanted to do, then I became extremely focused and I turned down like, I don't know, many things that were defocus, but it's like meetings, these kind of things that were like maybe not the best story for you. The best story I would say would be like something maybe quite impressive. We turned down like an investment opportunity that was some people who sent us like a term sheet where they wanted to invest 15 million in the business and give us $15 million in our pocket, meaning like 15 million for me as a founder, which is like huge. I still decided to say no, so turned down that opportunity. But 6 months later, a new deal came up and that deal was like $30 million in our pocket. So sometimes, you know, like being focused, turning down, it's hard. But if you know like where your company is heading, if you're confident in the numbers that you can reach, etc., then, you know, like you have leverage. And this is the most important.
Do you have a framework for saying yes or no? And when, how does it look?
I don't have a framework per se, but I think it's something that I do like pretty naturally, where I'm just gonna ask myself like, first things first, like how urgent is this opportunity? So if we take, for example, like we receive an offer, they want to invest 15 and 15. So 15 for us, 15 in the company. So it's like how urgent it is. Yeah, they want to answer by the end of the week. Okay. Is this time-based? Like meaning, can we get that in 6 months or not? Is it going to be better or worse in 6 months? And can we get better terms or not in 6 months, in a year, and so on and so forth? And based on that, you know, I just look and weigh kind of the situation. And this is how I decide. So sometimes, you know, I took on some things that were unplanned just because I felt like it was right timing and I had to do it. And sometimes I just turn down because I know like it can always come back.
Okay. Would you mind sharing some of the worst or hardest mistakes you've made in the past year?
Yeah, I think the worst mistakes are always the same. It's like hiring mistakes are usually like the most, the toughest, I feel, because hiring mistakes is something that can really like, I would say like fuck up your company at a certain stage. Because when you're like less than 30 people, less than 40 people, it's very different than when you reach like close to 100 people, because you don't really see who are the people who have been hired from other people, and you don't really always see how gossip and toxic behaviors can kind of like spread in a company, etc. And I feel like one of the mistakes I've made at some point was just not being as involved in the hiring process and not having the right people to hire and not investing enough essentially like in HR. So all of that changed, but that was like definitely something where I felt like, yeah, you just lose time, essentially. You lose a lot of time, people get pissed. Sometimes it's, you learn from it, but yeah, I think like hiring mistakes, probably the worst. Other thing is believing that top performers are going to become your top managers. When you grow your company, you obviously want people who joined early to be rewarded. Rewarded means in usually like the status power, it means like getting a role of like head of or whatever. It doesn't make sense. Most often like top performers are not awesome managers. Some are, but some aren't. And despite all the trainings you can give to someone, sometimes it's just not what they truly want. So really digging into what people want, I think is important. And a good way to know that is like, if you need to choose between keeping your salary and becoming a manager or getting 10 or 20K more per year and staying in your same role, what would you choose? This is the best question to ask to understand if someone is truly a manager or if someone is, in my opinion. Yeah, I love it. Because the reality is like, you're not decreasing their salary because you're telling them that they are like a manager, like if they could become. But you are seeing if the incentive is more, if they are more incentivized on the role or on the money. And this works if you pay people well. If you are like paying people like shit, obviously they will go to higher money whatsoever. But if they are happy with their salary right now and you offer that, ask that question, then it's, truly game changer.
Love it. Please compare your first days as a leader at Lemnis with today. In what areas have you developed? Why might the G from 5 years ago not be able to lead this company?
So from the early days, to be honest, like from 0 to 1 million, I was like the only one running marketing, sales, customer support, like all this shit. So I think my day was just, I was working like crazy. So it's just, you're running everywhere, like putting out fire, etc. And I felt like I needed to do everything myself. And I think it's good. I've been like telling everyone that they need to do it themselves, etc., etc. Over time, I feel like I was a bit too stuck in that mindset and that I wasn't good enough at hiring. And that's why I didn't manage to get the right people because I really feel like right now I know it, is you can hire people who are smarter than yourself to run things. And that happened to me, like last year when I decided to entirely change the C-level team, etc. And right now it's game changer. Like right now it's super important as a CEO to make yourself irrelevant in the company as soon as possible. And for me, this is the greatest sign of leadership, is when your company can work extremely well without yourself and you are just like here as a catalyst. So if someone is lacking maybe trust or having confidence issue, or they are not sure about the vision, they need sometimes, or they need a coach, you are here for them, but the business should be running really well without you. And I would say that back in the days, I was way too much of a control freak for this to happen. I think it has its pros because obviously I shaped the business the way I wanted to, but it has also a lot of cons, meaning that people were totally reliable on me. I only had hired people we were extremely junior, which means that I had to taught them, each and every one of them, their job. Yeah. And they didn't really teach me anything, which means that eventually it means that they were limited by my own knowledge of a specific department, I would say. And I am not an expert in a specific department. I'm more of an all-around player. Yeah. And I think this was a mistake.
Okay, we talk a lot about habits today. What would you recommend any founder adopt to achieve more goals? What habit?
I think it's the habit of getting shit done, to be honest. I think I see too many people, and this is crazy. I'm gonna give you an example. Yeah. You are thinking about something, or something happens to you, a message. You receive a message on Slack. A message asks you to do something that's going to take you less than 2 minutes, less than 5. I've seen people taking that message, putting it in their to-do list and adding it to their to-do list.
Or on Slack, save for later.
Yeah. And I'm like, why? Like it takes you less than 2 minutes. It's going to take you 1 minute to put it on your to-do list and do all this stuff. And then you're going to be like, oh, I've got too much stuff to do. And for me, that's the thing. Like I see it so many times. I've seen so many people who are just like, sometimes even writing the task. Like, oh, I need to write an email to that person to talk about that topic about X, Y, and Z. Okay, you just wrote exactly what you wanted to say to that person. Why isn't that email sent, you know? And for me, I see too many founders who are just, you know, in the, yeah, I need to work on the vision, I need to do X, I need to do Y. But the habit is just to get shit done. And I know it's hard. I know it's like sometimes you have like many things on your mind, etc. But if you become like really good at slamming tasks whenever they arise, yeah, you become unstoppable.
But it sounds like a little bit of reacting. So what are some tasks you put on a to-do list instead of doing this at this moment? Because I think your time is not well spent when you do everything now.
Yeah, of course. I think I think for me, it's the reason I mention it is because I only receive notification, you know, like whenever I decide. So for me, it's like if I receive a notification or a message in a time where I've decided to do all, of course. Yeah. Okay. For me, if you receive a notification when you're in deep work, that you just don't know how to set up your computer. No, but seriously, like
there is a function in the
No, but seriously, like you can't call yourself like I'm in a deep work and still receive notification. That's like so much bullshit. It's the same as people saying I'm deep working and you see them on Instagram, you know, like fuck you, like you're just doing shit and that's it.
Love it. Okay, 2 last questions. Naval Ravikant discussed it in a podcast with Tim Ferriss why many millionaires and even billionaires are unhappy because they are always in this next mode. He mentioned that we should not forget our initial goals when we're starting our journey. He also says that 99% of people would accept far less of what they have already achieved. So what was your initial goal when you first started and where is your endpoint?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good question. I just feel like it's always like. I think money is a funny topic because I think like a lot of people who earn a lot of money, you know, we ask like there are always these questions like, yeah, we've asked a billionaire like what he regret, and the answer was like, yeah, spending more time with his family or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, probably some of them are like this, but then ask, you know, like a poor person, like if I ask like my grandparents, you know, who never made any money and worked their ass off forever, if you ask like what's their regret is like not having the opportunity to make more money so they could do like other stuff. And so, you know, like we all have regrets down the line. The question, you know, it's not like what are you gonna regret? It's more what do you truly want to achieve? What are you fine with putting on the side? What are you fine with sacrificing? And for me, like your goals, what said Naval Ravikant about like, don't forget your initial goal when you got started. It's bullshit. Like my initial goal when I wanted to start was just like, yeah, getting a salary, but I changed, you know, like you evolve, you want more stuff, etc. It's not, the reason why I want more or like a bigger company, etc., it's not for the money. It's for the impact you have on people. It's for the people you meet. It's for all the adventures that you live. And all of that, I think, is far more important than just, you know, like the dollars that you get on your bank account. And in reality, billionaires, I feel like they are, I don't know, how many billionaires are there in the world? Like maybe 2,000, 5,000? It's in the 1,000, maybe less than 10,000 billionaires. Yeah. But you see, like these people, obviously, they are so different from the norm. Like we're talking about billions of people. So even if you take 10,000 and we're like 7 billion, the percentage of people who are billionaires is so small, then obviously these guys have a view on the world that is insanely different as any other people. So for them, the things that they're going to regret is probably the lack of human connection. It's true, you know, like, and that's something that they're going to feel bad about, etc., because eventually at some point in their life, they're just going to realize, unless they have accepted it and they are fine with it, because I think you can be happy alone. Like lots of people are happy alone and they are like happy, you know, like it's fine. We have like hermits, I don't know how we call that, in people living in the mountains on their own, having their best life with their like goats and shit. Not my life personally, but it's fine, you know, like as long as you accept it and you're like in peace with yourself, I think it's fine. I just feel like people often crave for the thing that they don't have, and I think it's totally normal. Like when you're single, eventually you're like, I would love to be in a relationship, or when you're in a relationship, you're like, I wish I was single. It's always these kind of things.
For the German audience, he means I'm early.
Okay, let's
I would not try to pronounce that word.
let's
end this conversation with a very personal note. You know a bit about me. I think you're smart enough to know my weak spots. Can you please switch to your to be honest mode and tell me what I should change to achieve the highest possible level and avoid being mediocre?
I don't think you're mediocre, first of all, so that's like...
Avoid it. I think I represent a lot of founders at this stage. So, you know, it's about me, but I think I represent...
I think they are... if I want to be like fully blunt, and then you can edit whatever I say. Get ready, Niels. Niels, roasting time. No, I just think it's... I just think it's also normal, but it's... trying to ask yourself the question, where do I want to be like in 3 to 5 years, you know? Because I feel like sometimes if we're at a spot where we know we want to do something different in 5 years, or if we know we want to do something different in 3 years, then the question is always, why not start now? And I just feel like, and I've seen it with many founders, many people asking me questions, etc. It's like, when you start a company to exit it and sell it, why are you working on this company right now? You know, like why, what drives you? Is it just because like the opportunity? Is it just you want money? But ask yourself this question of why, so you can come back to the first reason. Because let's take a very simple example. You build like $1 million business because you want to sell it. That's your only goal when you get started. So how much do you want to sell it? I want to sell it for 10 million. Okay. Is there any other path to get to 10 million that will also make you enjoy the journey as much as what you're doing? But maybe it will take you a bit longer. And sometimes I just feel like people don't ask themselves this question, and they end up in closed, I would say, onto like the roots, and they built their own prison. You know, like, and I think this is maybe something that you need to think of. It's quite hard to say like you build your own prison, but for me, you know, it's always something I ask myself. Even with L'Empire, you know, it's like, every year I ask myself, like, do I love working on the project I'm working with? Or what would my ideal life would be? I want to work with people I love, I admire, I learn from. Okay, check. I want to work on topics I'm passionate. Okay, check. I want to work anywhere in the world, whenever I want, and be able to be remote. Okay, check. I want to have a decent salary. Okay, check. And, you know, like, is just asking myself these questions. And because people want to know, like, the end game. But it's not about the end game. For me, it's about the game. Yeah. You know, I don't really care about the end game. Like, if tomorrow we sell at 5 billion, 1 billion, or if we don't sell at all and IPO and continue doing it, if I'm having fun in this game, I'm here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think for you, it's asking yourself, like, what game do you want to play? Be confident about the game you want to play and just enjoy it. Because sometimes I would say, like, that would be like the first topics on the weak spots. the other thing is to achieve what you want to achieve, are you putting the necessary effort in doing so? For me, it's always a question that we should ask ourselves whenever we launch a company, like, what are we ready to sacrifice to achieve what we want to achieve in a certain amount of time? Of course, like, we shouldn't burn out, we shouldn't fuck up our relationship for this thing, etc. But based on the life we want to live and the outcome that we want to achieve and the mission we're working on, are the three aligned and possible? And that's like another question to ask.
Yeah. We had this conversation before, I think 2 months ago, when you can remember.
Yeah.
I think the term was like, what are you obsessed about? So when we started the podcast, it was the same question you asked me, I think.
Yeah,
let's go down to this road.
Exactly. I think it's really important. It's like finding your obsession, I think, is critical. It's critical because when it gets hard, and it will, you want to remember, that it's worth it. And it's not worth it because of the outcome you're expecting. It's worth it because of who you're becoming along the way. It's worth it for all the things you're learning, for all the experience, the joy, the sadness, like the roller coaster of emotion, the thrill, that pain, joy, suffering, that's what makes us truly alive, So having all these emotions, for some people, it might be too much. Some people like when it's more tainted, and it's not like, I don't say that in a pretentious way or diminishing way, because I don't think like it's for everyone. Some people like roller coasters. Some people like being on a lake and just like rowing, and that's fine. It's just a different life. So what kind of life do you want to live?
I think we end here, and I really, really appreciate it, my man. Hope everyone outside was, or on the laptop was enjoying like me. And if everyone wants to know how I met G, I put the link from the LinkedIn post in the description. I think this is another story.
Yeah, good story.
Thanks, my man. Thanks.
Thank you.